In this enlightening episode, we sit down with Bec Cuzzillo, a spiritual business coach dedicated to helping spiritual women create abundant, heart-led, and sustainable businesses that truly ignite their souls. With over 8 years of experience, Bec has mastered the art of combining soulful business strategies with mindset work, energetics, and fully embodied feminine spirituality. Her unique approach empowers women to claim their worth, master their mindset, and step into the highest vision for their life and business. Join us as Bec shares her journey, insights, and practical tools to support space-holding women in building a life and business they truly love. Discover how you can navigate the challenges of entrepreneurship while balancing your personal and professional life, all with a touch of sacred leadership and spiritual abundance. Tune in to this inspiring episode and embark on a journey of spiritual growth, leadership, and abundance with Bec. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, Bec's wisdom and guidance will empower you to build a business that truly sets your soul on fire. She is also my gorgeous daughter and business coach. Hi, Bec. How are you, my love?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited for this.
I'm so excited. I love talking about all things sacred leadership and practical magic. We're going to have lots of fun.
We are.
Can you share your journey to becoming a spiritual business coach and what sacred leadership means to you?
This is such a good question. Okay, so my journey, first and foremost, I don't know if you remember, Mum, but when you were doing a lot of expos a little while ago, you were reading at expos, I would come and help you. I was still at uni. And there were so many times where people would say to me, you're going to be doing this work one day. You're going to be doing this work one day. And I remember just saying to them, no, that is not my journey. That is Mum's journey. Mum is a psychic medium. She is in this space. That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've got other plans. I was at uni at the
Yeah.
time. It was not something that I would have ever expected. If you had said to me, when I finished school or when I was at uni, one day you're going to be running your own spiritual business, I would have laughed at you.
I do remember those times, and I remember you were quite adamant about, no, that's not happening. Thank goodness this is exactly what you're doing because you've helped so many people. So,
Oh, thank you.
how do
So
you
my
integrate?
journey,
Yeah, your journey. Yeah.
let me actually share with you. So,
Share your journey.
so I'm a little bit of a reluctant entrepreneur, really, but I really shouldn't be surprised that I'm here. I don't know. It's something that I haven't shared a lot, but when I was about 14, I really wanted to work. I really wanted to work, but I was too young. And I made you sign up to Avon so that I could be an Avon lady at
I remember
14.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so looking back, I shouldn't be surprised that I've ended up where I am. And even during uni, I had a stint of selling jewelry at markets. So I've always had other things going on. And when I started my business, I first started making candles, and I was already trained as a Reiki healer, a Reiki master, as you know. And so the candles that I made were very much all about healing, and they were infused with that energy. And I really loved doing that. But I had no idea that it would lead me here. At the time, it was very much a creative outlet from the work that I was doing. At the time, I was working in the community sector. I was doing a lot of advocacy around youth issues. So some really challenging work that I was doing in terms of it was heavy, things like youth homelessness, youth justice. We were doing a lot of work on the front line, talking to a lot of youth workers, talking to a lot of young people who were facing difficulties. And so I needed a creative outlet. And so at the time, I started making candles. I also got my diploma of interior design. I was also a food and travel blogger, and I was dabbling in photography. I was doing a lot of things at that time. I think really trying to find something that just gave me that creative outlet and felt really good and
Yeah.
felt really aligned. And so candles was where I started. I then created some goddess candles because feminine spirituality has always been the spirituality that has spoken to my soul. And so we created these goddess candles. And then to celebrate the launch of the first one, you and I ran a women's transformation workshop, a goddess workshop. And it was at that moment that I had this realization that, oh, this is it. That was what I was really looking for. I was trying all of these things and I had this moment of like, yes, this is it. And so that led me on this path to training as a coach, getting my NLP certification, and starting to work one-on-one with women in that space, doing spiritual goddess coaching, supporting them in their own transformation. And inevitably, what happens when women go through that experience is some of them come out the other side and say, I want to do this work too. I want to train as a coach, or I want to train as a healer, and I want to bring this work, this transformative work to other people because I've experienced this transformation. I want to help others with that. And hey, Bec, you've built a spiritual business. Can you help me build a spiritual business? And because I had all of these skills, I'd been running an online business for a long time. I'd done services, I'd done products. I had my blogging background. I had done some social media management. I was doing some photography. I had all of these things that I could bring together and support people to create and start and build their own businesses. And so that's how I started doing business coaching. And in 2020, when COVID hit, there are a lot of people in my community who were running face-to-face businesses. And a lot of them had this moment of like, oh, how do I do this? What am I going to do now? And because I've been running an
Yeah.
online
The
business,
pivot. Yeah.
big pivot for people. And because I'd been running an online business for a very long time, I was able to support them to do that. So I ran a program, a 3-week program, took about 30 something women through that, supported them to bring their businesses online, and it just snowballed from there. And it was at that point in 2020 when I went all in on business coaching. That was also the first year of being a mum. So Noah was born in 2019,
Yeah.
I think.
Huh.
and and it was at that point where I really needed to niche down anyway because I didn't have as much time being a young
Yes.
mum. And so that's the direction I went in. And I just absolutely love supporting business owners. It is the joy of my life. And I am so grateful that I get to spend my days supporting other women doing incredible things in the world to bring those things to life and to grow them and to scale them and to build businesses that they love and businesses that support them in their life. So that's my path to becoming a spiritual business coach. And I know that's only the first half of the question that you asked me there, but that's my journey. I think it's been very much an unfolding of following my intuition and following those breadcrumbs and landing here. As I said, it's not something I ever expected, but it is the absolute best.
Oh, I love it so much. And oh my goodness, I loved those goddess candles. And, coming together in circle with you, Bec, holding space with you, and just watching the unfoldment of women stepping into their authenticity and and just having that beautiful sisterhood connection has just been such a blessing in my life. So I just feel so lucky to be able to share this with you as well. I think that, comes from, yeah, such a beautiful space. So, how do you maintain authenticity? Because you're very real online. I love that about you. And what I also know about you is you're very professional. So, how do you maintain authenticity and integrity in your leadership while balancing business and personal life?
It's a really good question. I don't necessarily think I always get the balance right. In fact, I probably rarely do. I don't think balance is anything you ever actually arrive at,
True.
but I endeavor to do my best. And I think really that's probably the key here. It's that permission piece to be real, to be raw, to show up in the mess and find what works for you in that space, I would say. And so having that kind of integrity around, this is how I want to show up online, and this is what that looks like for me, and coming to it from a place of service. I know the other part of the question that I didn't quite answer before was around sacred leadership and what that means to me. And I
Yes,
think
yeah.
for me, sacred leadership is about service
Love that.
and showing up from a place of service
Yes.
and knowing what that looks like for you. So for me, when I think about the mission that I have and the purpose that I have and what that means to live that purpose and that mission, that's really stepping into your sacred leadership, but also knowing that that can change and that's not something that's static. I think
That ever evolving journey. Yeah.
it is. And showing up authentically is embracing that
Yes.
and allowing that to evolve and being true to whatever that looks like for you in whatever season of life you're in. And that can be kind of tricky to navigate, I think, because wouldn't it be great if it was like, here's your sacred purpose, here's your soul purpose. It's
Yes.
one thing. Once you find it, you found it, and that's it, and it's over. Like, wouldn't it be great if it was that finite and you could kind of grab onto it and hold on to it,
Do
and
you
that was
think
it?
so? Do you think so? I think it could be a little bit boring. I think we're progressive beings that love to grow and change. I think, but you're right. Wouldn't it be simple? It would
It
be,
would be
it would be
simple.
easier. It would be simple. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hear you on that. Of course it would be boring. Like, of course it
We
would be
think we'd
boring.
like the idea, but would we really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just acknowledging that it's not static and that things evolve and that you evolve and the journey evolves
Exactly.
and the purpose and the passion evolves, and all we can do as sacred leaders is follow those breadcrumbs. I talked about that
Yes.
before of following my intuition. Maybe I won't always be a spiritual business coach. This is what this season of my life looks like. This is what my purpose looks like right now. This is what sacred leadership looks like for me right now.
Yes.
Maybe it won't always look like that. I don't know. And I'm excited by that fact, because who knows where I'll be in 10 years' time. But also I know that I'm on a path right now that feels so good. And you do know that. It's not that it's easy all the time,
No.
because there are there are actually a lot of aspects of being, stepping into your leadership that is really hard, because
Yeah.
you have to be brave and you have to,
So brave. Yep.
yeah, step outside your comfort zone and share your heart and share what's real and raw and open yourself up to whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
knowing that that's coming from a place of service. I think that's the key.
That is so the key.
Mm.
Focus on service and everything else will just fall into place. I truly believe that. Like I love that your answer to sacred leadership, is pretty much focused on being of service. And you did that in the community sector. You do that with your spiritual business coaching. Um, and it can be in lots of different arenas. I think, sacred leadership can be almost anywhere where you're making a difference or you're following your heart and it really lights you up and all that really good, juicy stuff. Yeah.
100%. It's not just in business.
Yeah.
That's such a small slice of the pie, really. And
Yeah.
obviously, having a business gives you the opportunity to amplify what that looks like. And that's a huge part of my purpose and my mission and how I want to share that with the world. But it's not the only way. And I feel like there's so many elements of my personal life where I get to live into that too. I'm a mum. Any mum is on a sacred leadership path. I mean, we're literally raising humans. It's the
Yes.
most sacred thing ever.
Oh, parenthood is a sacred mission without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these little humans rely on you, and there's a lot. I don't like to think of it too much because there's a lot of pressure, in terms of like how do we make these humans be good humans? Are we doing a good job? All of those things. Um, there's many ways that that happens. So in your career, in your business, in your home life, you know, and even if you don't have kids, there's still an
Yeah.
element of that, of showing up in integrity and living your values. What does that mean? And I think of so many people in my life who I'm friends with who have impacted me in different ways because they have a mission to do things in a really eco-friendly way, for example. And that
Yes.
is so inspiring to me. That's sacred leadership because I'm inspired by that. I'm learning from people in all sorts of ways all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
There's so many ways that you probably don't even realize that you're doing that.
Great answer. Love
Mm,
it. Love it so much. And I
mm,
love that you talked about that. I call it the beautiful mess, the beautiful noise of life. It's not meant to be perfect. You know, it's navigating, the journey. Yeah, in a way that, yeah, I just, yeah, it's, you're never going to maintain or reach that perfect balance. But I think, you do it pretty well. I've seen you and I'm in awe of what you do. So, um, what advice would you give aspiring leaders who want to lead with their heart and soul? What advice, what take home would you give them?
mm. That's a good question. The thing that comes through for me right now in this moment, and I feel like I would answer this question in a different way any minute you asked me. But what comes through for me right now is to be brave and have courage. There's probably going to be a lot of fear that comes up and a lot of self-doubt that comes up around doing things a bit differently. I think if you think about sacred leaders, the leaders of our world, the people who have left a mark and changed things, they're doing things in a different way. And it is not always easy to step out and do things in a different way and impact others and consciously go out and go, hey, this is what I'm here to do. And this is how I want to show up. And this is what I want to share with you. And this is how I want to be of service to the world. It takes courage to do that. And so, anyone who is looking at stepping out and doing that and sharing your magic, I know that there's probably a moment of hesitation there and a moment of self-doubt and a moment of, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And this feels really stretchy and this feels really hard. And I'm pushing the edges of the comfort zone here. And so, what I would share with you is that fear, if it is coupled with excitement, if you are excited about what it is that you want to do and that you're being called to, and it's a little bit scary or it's a whole lot scary, that's a really great sign that you are on the right path, because I feel like that intersection of fear and excitement is the sign of our intuition saying, yes, this is what you're here to do, because anything that we do outside of our comfort zone is scary. It is the unknown. It is what we don't know. We've never been there before. We're forging a new path. That fear is expected. It's not a sign that it's the wrong path for you.
Exactly. That's not your intuition speaking. You're creating that new neural pathway. It's uncharted territory. And yeah, and I love, reframing the fear into excitement makes so much sense to me. But also understand that it is a new path, so it is going to feel a bit weird, but it can be a really good weird, right? A really
Mhm.
good weird. Um, I want to ask you this. How do you integrate sacred leadership principles into your coaching programs? Because I'm in your Mistress Mind group, which I absolutely love. I just find it so supportive and so practical as well, because, yeah. So, how do you integrate those kind of principles into what you actually do? You know?
That's a great question. And I don't know if I've ever really thought about it as consciously as that in terms of like, how am I integrating sacred leadership? So there's a part of the what that looks like for me as a space holder, I think, in terms of how I hold space and how I bring my sacred leadership to that space. And then there's also the piece around how do I support my clients to be in their sacred leadership and what that looks like. I always approach my coaching relationships in a very sovereign way. And so what that means for me is this is what I do. This is what I'm good at. These are my skills. These are my expertise. This is what I bring to the table. What I bring to the table is that I'm very, very good at the practical things. I'm very, very good at understanding the intuitive and how those things come together. But I really want you to get boots on the ground, and I want you to make it actually happen in the 3D,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So many of my clients are go-getting, creative,
Yeah.
intuitive women.
Trailblazers. Yeah. Way showers. Yeah.
100%. And sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes being intuitive means that that practical element can sometimes be a bit trickier because it's like, I just want to flow and I just want to do this and I've got all these
Yes.
ideas. And it's like, okay, yeah, but we need to get this. We need to get this out
We
into
need
the
to
world.
ground them, anchor them, make
Yeah.
them work. Yeah.
So that's my magic, part of it. There's other things I do. But, you know, in terms of the way that I can support people, that's one of the things I do. We take all of these incredible ideas, we ground them, we give you a path forward, and I support you with the implementation of that. And I work very closely with my clients in that way. But in terms of the sovereign aspect, and I think this is something that I would classify as the sacred leadership part of things,
Yes.
is that I empower my clients with decisions. So I do work in a way that is sometimes consultative. So it's this is what I would recommend here. This is the path forward that I would recommend. Here are the steps I think you should take that will help you get to your goal, which is XYZ, which is what you've said to me. But often, and I do feel like this is my personality as well as some of my training coming in, because having studied interior design, one of the things you learn as a design principle is that there are many solutions to one problem. You can have a space and you can design it in many ways, and you need to have functionality, you need to have how it looks aesthetically is important, all of these things, you know. But in a room, you can arrange the furniture in a million ways to solve the problem that you've got. And there are always multiple solutions to a problem. So often the way that I work with clients is I will say, okay, this is what you want to do. You want to do XYZ. You want to have this goal. This is what you're thinking. You're thinking about creating this offer, or you're thinking about launching in this way. And I will say, here are some options for you. You could do it in this way, da, da, da. This is why I think that would work. This is maybe the downfalls of that pathway. And then over here, here's another option, which would look like this. And this is why I think that could be really good. This is the downfalls to that. Here's the information. How does that feel to you? And then we have a conversation about it. And usually there's this moment of, oh, now that I see these options clearly,
Yes.
this is what feels right for me. This is the choice I'm making. And I'm making that with all of this information that I've been given by
Yes.
Bec, who has
Yeah.
X number of experience years in business. So that's the way that I work with clients. I will often have these multiple options, and we'll kind of chat through this to find the solution together. And so that's how I think I integrate that sacred leadership piece into the way that I work with clients, empowering them to make their own decision, but giving them the information they need to do so and supporting them with these different options and what
Yeah.
it would look like.
I love that. Great
Mm.
answer. Now let's talk a little bit about practical magic.
Love it.
I know you and I love that movie. It's not quite margarita time, but
Not yet.
not yet. What role does practical magic play in building a sustainable and heart-led business? So let's start talking about, can you share some practical magical rituals or practices entrepreneurs can incorporate into their daily routines, or perhaps you might want to talk about what you integrate into your daily routine. Let's start talking practical magic.
I love this. So I think spiritual business owners have an edge on everyone else because we can literally make anything sacred. We can make anything spiritual. There is a way to look at a task that might feel so freaking boring and make that magical and weave that magic in if you choose to. And this is the choice piece. This is the intentionality piece. I know that there are things in business that we don't love doing, and spiritual business owners in particular usually don't love admin or the money side of things, like the actual bookkeeping. We can love the money side of things, but the record keeping, the bookkeeping, like
Yes, I
it's
can relate to
mundane, it's a
that.
bit boring. We have the power to make those things magical because we have these practices. We know what that means. And so there is no excuse for you to find anything boring because you can make it sacred. And that can literally look like creating sacred space to do that, putting on some music, having some fun with it. What does it look like to play in that space of possibility when it comes to these things that we don't love doing? How do we make them magic and how do we make them delicious? And any practice can be like this, even just taking the time before you sit down to work to create sacred space in your office or wherever it is that you work, creating some magic in that space,
Yes,
lighting some
makes
incense.
such a difference.
It does. Put a candle on, spray yourself with an energetic spray. Like we often all have these tools. I'm literally looking at my desk. I can see all of these tools on my desk. The days that I take a moment to create that sacred space and make things a little bit magical before I sit down to do any work just feels so much more delicious. Like, why not take the 2 minutes it takes to do that? So I'm all about keeping things really simple. I don't have a lot of time. I think we've talked about the fact that I've got 2 young kids, and so that means I don't have a lot of time to waste when it comes to, I don't have a huge long morning routine and I don't have anything that takes me a really long time because I literally just don't have time. This is not my season of life to do that. And if you have the time, please make the most of that and do what it is that feels really good to you. But you can integrate this into your day in a way that feels really lush, but is still simple and quick. One of the things that I do is I have on my calendar every single week a money magic hour. And this is the hour that I spend getting my finances organized. I look at my money, I pay my invoices, I, track all my expenses. I have my accounting software, I go through that. I have these money tasks that I do, which on the surface could seem really boring. But I call it my money magic hour, which firstly makes it just sound a whole lot more fun. And then I create that sacred space around it. I have a money magic hour playlist that I play, which is full
That's
of
so great.
it's full of music that is all about money, really, and there's a lot of
Yes.
lot of music out there. I do like a bit of hip hop and rap, so it's got a bit of
Yeah.
that in it. But there will be music that makes you feel abundant. What music makes you feel abundant? Put that into a playlist and play that while you're doing your money magic hour and infuse magic into it. It also works to be really magnetic in that space. When we
Yes.
pour love into something,
Yes.
when we pour our energy in a positive way, then
Mm-hmm.
we are attracting that into our life. And so when we make things like our accounting and our bookkeeping a little bit magic, we are pouring positive energy into that space. And when we're doing that, we are
Yes.
attracting more. So it's also an abundance practice.
Oh my goodness, that is fabulous. That magnetic abundance, making it sacred and really, fun and very high vibe. And of course, you're infusing your bookkeeping and your record keeping with um, practical magic. And of course, that means that you're magnetizing more money. That's so cool. Love that.
And I think it's also just about working out what works for you. I always like to have a bit of a menu, I think of it, a menu of spiritual practices that I know feel really good to me. And then I take the time to be intentional about what I want to do. So it's like, what do I need right now? Like literally sitting and going, hey, body, hey, being, what do we need right
Yeah.
now that's going to feel really good? And it could be I need to get outside. I need to drink some water. I need to have a really delicious meal today and actually taking the time and the care to have a delicious
Yeah.
meal, not something out of a container that takes you 2 seconds to scoff
Yes.
down. Like go and create yourself something. heat it up and put it in a freaking bowl, like go and
Yeah.
eat it outside, like
Everything's
just
a
these,
ritual.
yeah, just these little things.
Yeah. What are you
And
putting into your body? What
mm,
energy are you putting into your body? We're
and
not just
out
talking
there.
nutrition, we're
No.
talking energy, you know?
Mm.
Love that.
It's all in your intention, and anything can be magic, anything can be spiritual, anything can be sacred if you choose to make it so. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect. There are plenty of times. The reason I can talk about sitting there with the container, scoffing it down, is because there are plenty of times where that is me.
Yes.
Often on the days when I've got the kids, because I'm trying to eat in between, hopefully they don't see me and they're not going to come and steal my lunch. We're not perfect all the time,
No,
but we
but
have the
that
power to
intentional
choose.
living, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The power to choose. Yeah.
And I can blame not having a lot of time and having the kids, but I could also actually pull myself up on that and go, hey, Beck, actually, you could probably put it in a bowl and you could probably eat it outside. And does it really matter if your kids are going to have a bite? No, like surrender to that. We can resist these things
Yes.
and we can react to things,
Yes.
or we can go, I'm in control here and I've got the power to do this. What does that look like for you to make that decision?
So good. Which is the perfect segue for us chatting about an abundance mindset, because I know this is something that you are, very dedicated to. So, how do you define an abundance mindset, and why is it so crucial for spiritual entrepreneurs to have that? And I think it sort of ties into the fact too that there's these kind of I don't know, misconceptions around, can you be spiritual and abundant at the same time? Absolutely, you can. I don't think there's anything spiritual about poverty, but in saying that, yeah. So, yeah.
I
What,
mean, that's the
what comes
story
up for
we've been
you?
sold. We've been sold the story through many ways that
Yes,
if you are spiritual, it means foregoing material wealth, because material wealth is, I mean, there are some that would say that that's evil, it's greedy, it's whatever, insert whatever story is here. There is a lot of that story, a lot of those stories that exist in religion. There's a lot of those stories that exist in pop culture. We are kind of bombarded with a lot of this, that if you are rich and wealthy, that you are not a nice person.
yes,
It's BS though, right?
yeah,
Because there are not nice people everywhere, and there are a lot of incredible people everywhere, wealthy or otherwise. And so what we need to do is remove the stories and start unpacking the stories and start rewriting our own stories around what it means to be wealthy and what it means to be abundant and what it means to be spiritual. And we could probably do a whole podcast series on that in and of
exactly.
itself.
It's a big topic.
It is a big topic, and there are people who that's what the work they do. The work they do is money mindset work and supporting people to come to an abundance mindset. For me, what that means is it's looking and seeing the opportunity that is out there and having a mindset that supports that. So rather than being in lack and seeing how hard everything is, because if we choose to see the world in that way, it's pretty damn easy to start that down that path.
Yeah,
There are systemic things that block certain groups of people from growing their wealth. We know that, and we live within this system. So it's not about denying the reality of that, because that is the truth, but there is a way that we can approach that. And the way that we can approach that is by looking at things and finding the opportunities in things and looking for the solutions and being the master of our own destiny and choosing that. Once you see it, once you know that you have a choice, you can't unsee it anymore. And when you start stepping into that space of going, okay, well, what is my responsibility here? What do I have control over? I have control over the way that I approach this, and I have control over the way that I see these things. And I have control over the way that I react. That's all we can control, right? We can't control other people. We can control ourselves and our reaction and how we approach things. And so when we start to see that, and when we start to consciously choose to see things from an abundance mindset, and we start to choose to see the opportunities in things, so it's rather than a what if this fails, and it's well, what if this actually succeeds? Like we can literally flip it that easily. When we start to choose those thoughts instead of seeing the possibility and seeing the opportunity in things, you can't unsee it anymore. And then you start to see all of the lack stuff, and you start to reflect
Yes.
on how that might have been your reality in the past. And you continually choose to think differently. That
Yeah.
is the work.
Yes, I love that. Great answer. And of course, you can choose to have compassion for people around the world that, are struggling financially as well. Like it's not like, you can have this abundance mindset within your own business, but you can also be a compassionate, caring person to people, that are in really tough, shitty situations, right? So, it's not like, yeah. I
There's
love that answer. It's so good. Yeah.
there's also power in what that means, and I think it's the difference between, like, if we look at material wealth and we look at money, it's an exchange, and it holds a lot of power in that money gives you choice. And
Yes.
I am a big believer, and my background is in, as we've talked about, youth advocacy.
Yes.
My degree was in international development.
Yes. Yeah.
Part of the mission that I believe that work is here to achieve is getting more money and wealth in the hands of the people who not only need it, but the people who are going to invest
Share
that
it.
back into their community.
That's
And
it.
the research, I was at uni, I don't know how many years ago now, 15, 16 years ago. And the learnings that we had, the teachings around what it means to raise a community out of poverty is to
Yes.
put money in the hands of the women. And we know
Oh
that
my goodness.
that is what is going to have the impact in this world, that is going to bring communities out of poverty, because women are more likely to share that. We know that if, for example, different groups have money, for example, if Black people are empowered with money, they are more likely to invest that back into Black businesses
Yes.
more than white people. And that is
Yes.
data that we can see and look at. And so when
Yes.
we give money to people and groups that perhaps haven't had the money in the past, we are going to see this world change. That is the power that money has. It's neutral, right? Energetically, money is neutral.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
so believe that. But what we want to do is we want to see more wealth with the people who are going to spend it in the way that our values are aligned with, And
Beautiful.
that's why I do this work, because I want more spiritual women to have abundant businesses. That means they can then circulate that
Yay.
money.
Yeah.
If I think about who I spend my money with, and of course there are things you can't avoid, and
No,
I
you're
do.
very ethical when you spend. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. But
It's
I do
true.
spend money
You've
with
taught me.
I do
Yeah.
spend money with Facebook. We've invested in that. It's paying Zuckerberg, but
What choice do we have?
but what choice do we have?
That's right. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle, right?
It's a vehicle, and that helps you grow the business. And, my VA is a woman, my content manager is a woman, my
Yes.
coach is a woman. I
Yes.
choose to invest in a way that aligns with my values.
Love it.
And that is what I would encourage everyone here to do, and to start seeing the impact that more money has in your hands. So it's not about it being greedy, and it's not about, and that I also want to keep some of that money, because I want to invest that back into my family and into
Of
my life too.
course. Yes. But it's
But
just that brainwashing and conditioning from, if you're spiritual, then you have to give everything up and be poor and pure and all that kind of crazy crap that's not even really real for whatever reasons,
you are
That's the
worthy,
truth.
and your work is worthy of being valued. And so
Exactly.
I don't believe in charging what you're worth, because I don't think you can put a dollar figure on anybody's worth,
No. Yes,
but you deserve to be paid for the work that you do, and you deserve to be paid
exactly.
well for the work that you do. So whatever that looks like to you, claim that, step into that.
Beautiful. My last question to you, my love, and I feel like it's already been kind of answered because I feel you are very intuitive. What legacy do you hope to leave through your work and the impact you have on your clients' lives?
Oh, that's a huge question. I just hope to leave this world in a better place than I found it. At its core, really, like that would be really nice. Um, okay, let me answer that in a more detailed way. So the impact that I hope to have, the legacy I hope to create is, as I've already shared, more women having abundant businesses that feel really good to them, that support them and their families in whatever season of life that looks like, and allows them that choice and that freedom to give back in whatever way that looks like, and to live their lives in the way that they desire, and for there to be a shift in for there to be a shift in the way that society is right now and has been. I want to see i want to see societal change, and we are seeing it in some ways, and that's
Yes.
really exciting, and there's
Yeah,
also a huge part of me that's so impatient for that.
I know. Yeah.
But that's what I want to do. I want to support in whatever way that I can other women to also have the impact that they have. I think, I'm in a very, very privileged position in that I support other people to live into their mission and their purpose. So the ripple effect of that is quite huge. It's not just about the immediate impact that that has on my clients and their lives, but it's also
Mhm.
the impact that they then have on their clients' lives. I remember sitting in, and this has happened more than once, but I remember sitting in a closing ceremony for one of my programs, and one of my clients said to me, I wouldn't be doing this work anymore if it wasn't having had your support back. I would have quit.
Oh,
And it was at that moment, this is a woman who, I'm thinking of one in particular right now. I have this picture in my mind. She works and supports other mums, and she wouldn't have been doing that work. Those women wouldn't have had that support in their lives if she hadn't had my support. And of course, there's other things that go into it. And it's not just me. And I can't claim that because my clients do the work, like I support them to do their work. But I get to have that kind of ripple effect. And that in and of itself is not easily quantifiable, because you don't know the impact that you're having and the ripple effect that you're having on the world. And that's, I think, kind of the beauty of doing any of the work that I do, you do, our clients do. We don't get to see that fully, but we can trust that it's happening. And when I think about the legacy that I'm creating, it's like, okay, I'm supporting my clients to build the business that they love, to have the financial freedom that brings them, but also it gives them the power to then go out and impact others. And that's the bit that feels really, really special. And if I can tie it back into what that might mean for the people listening today, you never really know the impact that you're having on the people around you. Like, you can never quantify that. Sometimes I will have a client say to me, "Oh, you know how you said that thing to me? That's really stuck with me. And I've kept thinking about that. And that's allowed me to do XYZ." And honestly, there are times when I'm like, I don't remember saying that to you. Because maybe I was channeling it and it was intuitive, or I'll have clients say to me, I listened to that voice note like 3 times because it was just so good. And I'm
yeah.
like, at the time, it's me standing in my living room, voice noting for 3 minutes in support of my clients, but the impact of that could have ripple effect down
Oh,
the
yeah.
line.
They've done studies on it, osmosis, the domino effect. the ripple effect, you know, that love legacy, that chain reaction, you know, that butterfly effect. It's real, you know, cause and effect is real. And I love that you've shared that beautiful love legacy, and you're actually doing it, my love. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited that we'll be doing our beautiful Devoted Priestess collaboration again, mid-Feb next year,
Me too.
2025. It's going to be so wonderful. And yeah, as I said, it's just so beautiful that I'm your mum and I'm the grandmother to your sons, but at the same time, you know, we get to share this beautiful spiritual pathway and, you know, walk that journey together is just an absolute blessing in my life. So I'm just so grateful to you. And yeah, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm obviously very excited to have been here. I'm very excited for the work we're doing together with the Devoted Priestess again. It feels like a long time coming. You and I shared at the start of this episode, you know, my entry into this work was you, Mum, and I wouldn't be doing this work in the way that I'm doing it today, perhaps if you hadn't have been an enormous influence in my life. And so I'm obviously grateful to you. I'm grateful to be your daughter. I'm grateful that we get to work together. We have been running and running workshops, holding space alongside each other for a really long time now.
Yeah.
We
Seasonal
complement each other
workshops,
so well.
retreats, yeah, so many things. And we
I
do. We're
may even be
that
able to
beautiful
count them.
synergy. Yeah, love it.
Mm. We work together so well because we complement each other in terms of our gifts, I think. You know, you're the Piscean and I'm the Aries, and we both have gifts that really work together well. And in terms of holding space, we are very aware of what those gifts are, and we can hold space in a way that really highlights both of those things, I think, which is helpful. So really excited to be back doing that work. The Devoted Priestess is very special to us. So excited for everyone who's going to join us. And I'm sure you'll pop the link in the show notes. We've already sold
Yes.
tickets. So hopefully there's still space by the time this goes live for anybody
That's
who's listening and
exactly
is like,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
It's really about sacred leadership. And I think a lot of what we've talked about today has been very relevant for that, because even just what we were talking about there, sacred leadership, living your mission, having the impact you want to have in the world, and even being aware that that legacy you're creating, that ripple effect you're creating, is bigger than you, bigger than us.
Yes.
It feels very special to be able to hold space for that.
Yay, I'm so looking forward to it. And of course, your beautiful links will be in the show notes as well. A Devoted Priestess, beautiful full-day workshop retreat will be in the show notes as well. So thank you so much, my love. I love and adore you. Bye for now.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a great chat.